The CIA typically sets up a coup through infiltration, propaganda, and funding local opposition. Key steps include intelligence gathering, influence operations, and backing rebel groups. Historical analysis of 20th century geopolitical shifts reveals several broad strategic areas often involved in such operations. Intelligence and network development operations often began with extensive intelligence gathering to understand a nation's internal political and social dynamics. This involved identifying various local factions, including political figures and military leadership, to assess their alignment with specific foreign policy objectives. Economic and information operations. Strategic efforts frequently included attempts to influence public sentiment and economic stability. Information campaigns were used to promote specific narratives, while economic pressures or sanctions were sometimes applied to highlight the perceived shortcomings of a target administration. These factors often converged to create a climate of domestic instability. Support for local factions. In many documented historical cases, logistical or financial support was extended to local opposition groups or elements of the military. This support aimed to empower internal forces to initiate a change in leadership, often culminating in sudden shifts in control over key infrastructure and government institutions. Post-transition recognition. Following a change in government, immediate diplomatic recognition and economic aid were often used as tools to stabilize the new administration and integrate it into a specific international alignment. Infiltrating an organization involves 5 core phases: reconnaissance, entry, lateral movement, privilege escalation, and persistence. Phase 1. Reconnaissance, information gathering. Mapping the target, studying the organization's structure, hierarchy, and key decision-makers. Vulnerability assessment, finding weak spots in physical security, digital firewalls, or employee communication habits. Social engineering prep, collecting names, roles, and routines to craft believable pretexts or phishing angles. Phase 2. Entry, the initial breach. Exploitation, using a specific vulnerability, such as a compromised credential, a phishing click, or a physical tailgating method. First foothold, establishing a low-level presence inside the network or facility that blends in with normal daily activity. Phase 3. Lateral movement. Exploration, moving outward from the initial entry point to access adjacent systems, departments, or internal zones. Blending in, utilizing legitimate administrative tools or common credentials to avoid triggering security alerts. Phase 4. Privilege escalation. Targeting authority, identifying and hijacking higher-level user accounts or administrator credentials, gaining control, unlocking deeper system access or higher social standing within the organization's ranks. Phase 5. Persistence, maintaining access. Backdoors, installing secondary access channels or maintaining trusted status, so the position isn't lost if the initial entry point is patched or discovered. Operational security, remaining quiet, avoiding disruptive actions, and blending into long-term operations. The study of regime changes and covert influence involves analyzing various strategies used throughout history to impact the political stability of a target nation. These actions are generally categorized within political science and intelligence studies as follows: intelligence gathering and asset development. The initial phases often involve identifying internal political fractures and establishing relationships with local individuals or groups who may have dissenting views. This focus on human intelligence is used to understand the power dynamics within a government and military. Information operations and economic influence. Strategic efforts may include the use of media or information channels to shape public perception and encourage domestic opposition. In some historical contexts, economic measures such as sanctions or trade restrictions have also been utilized to apply external pressure on a governing body. Support for opposition movements. Historically, support has sometimes been provided to opposition parties or military factions. This can range from logistical advice to financial assistance, aimed at shifting the balance of power within the country. A propaganda machine refers to a highly organized system or network, often run by a government, corporation, or political group, that aggressively spreads biased, selective, or misleading information to manipulate public opinion. The phrase comes from the noun propaganda, information spread to promote or injure a cause, and machine, suggesting a powerful, well-oiled and systematic operation. Monopolization of information. It limits or entirely blocks access to opposing viewpoints. Repetition. Messages are broadcast constantly across multiple channels, television, social media, radio, to drill ideas into the public consciousness. Emotional appeal. It targets emotions like fear, patriotism, or anger rather than relying on objective logic. The term is mainly disapproving and is most commonly used in political contexts. For example, a state propaganda machine is frequently referenced when describing authoritarian regimes that control national news broadcasts to maintain a leader's popularity or demonize an enemy. It can also apply to sophisticated corporate lobbying or modern online disinformation campaigns. Propaganda breaks down an organization using a four-step psychological process: social polarization, authority erosion, institutional isolation, and internal fracturing. 1. Social polarization. Divide the group from the public by creating an us versus them mindset. Use loaded words to label the organization as dangerous or strange. Turn community opinion against the group so members feel unwanted. Authority erosion. Attack the leaders to break trust from the followers. Spread rumors or highlight past mistakes to make leaders look weak or dishonest. Internal doubt about who is in charge. 3. Institutional isolation. Cut off the group's ties to outside money, tools, and support systems. Make partners and allies fear being linked to the organization. Force the group into an echo chamber where they feel trapped and stressed. Internal fracturing. Create fake fights and push different ideas among members. Cause panic so people blame each other and quit the group. Watch the organization fall apart from the inside out. A covert information campaign to destabilize a target government unfolds through intelligence gathering, message development, and tactical execution. Historical blueprints and deconstructed models of psychological operations indicate a systematic, multi-phase progression. Intelligence and assessment vulnerability analysis, identifying economic hardships, ethnic tensions, or institutional corruption within the target country to exploit. Asset mapping, locating sympathetic local journalists, dissident factions, or disgruntled military officers. Baseline metrics, measuring public trust in the ruling administration to track shifting sentiment over time. Message and narrative formulation. Theme creation, crafting simple, repetitive core messages that frame the target leadership as illegitimate, corrupt, or subservient to foreign powers. Wedge drivers, promoting narratives specifically designed to split the regime from its key power pillars, such as the armed forces or internal security services. Localization, adapting slogans and complaints to match local cultural norms and everyday economic grievances. Channel infiltration and seeding front utilization. Channeling messaging through established or newly created non-governmental organizations, cultural groups, or exile platforms. Media seeding, planting stories, forgeries, or biased commentary in regional or international press networks. Clandestine broadcasting, utilizing untraceable or portable radio and digital channels to bypass state-controlled information barriers. Amplification and escalation. Rumor propagation, spreading targeted anxiety narratives regarding economic collapse, commodity shortages, or imminent betrayal by leaders. Protest coordination, encouraging localized, seemingly organic public demonstrations or labor strikes. Counter-state signaling, generating symbols of resistance or broadcasting declarations from manufactured opposition fronts to project momentum and inevitability. The CIA funds local opposition through a covert, multi-step process, including assessment, financial channels, and logistical support, conceptual framework of covert influence. In political science and international relations, the study of covert influence involves analyzing how external entities may attempt to support domestic movements. This is generally examined through several lenses. Strategic alignment. This involves identifying local entities whose political or social objectives align with the interests of the external state. Analysts look at the landscape of political parties, civil society organizations, and advocacy groups. Resource support. Assistance can take various forms, ranging from the provision of communication technology and organizational training to financial aid. In academic studies, the mechanisms for providing this support are often characterized by efforts to maintain plausible deniability for both the provider and the recipient. Information operations. This often includes efforts to amplify specific narratives within the local media environment. The goal is typically to influence public discourse, bolster the legitimacy of the opposition, and highlight perceived failures of the sitting administration. Organizational development. External support may focus on professionalizing local movements. This includes training in strategic communication, grassroots mobilization, and the use of digital tools to coordinate large-scale public demonstrations. Historical analysis of such activities often focuses on the long-term geopolitical consequences and the legal frameworks of international sovereignty that these actions navigate. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, utilizes a wide range of operational methods, historically categorized into intelligence collection, covert action, and controversial interrogation procedures. A complete list of all official operational tactics does not exist publicly due to classification, but declassified records outline major categories. Covert action and intelligence gathering, human intelligence. Gathering data through human sources, agents, and handlers. Covert operations, secret political, economic, or paramilitary activities designed to influence foreign events without revealing US sponsorship. Counterintelligence, actions taken to protect the US against foreign espionage and identify inside threats. Interrogation and detention tactics. During the post-9/11 era, the CIA implemented a specific program of coercive methods known as enhanced interrogation techniques, widely classified as torture. Waterboarding, simulating drowning by binding a detainee and pouring water over a cloth covering the face. Sleep deprivation, keeping detainees awake for extended periods, sometimes up to 180 hours. Stress positions, forcing bodies into painful fixed positions for long durations. Cramped confinement, placing individuals in small box-like enclosures for hours. Dietary manipulation, restricting intake to liquid or bland nutritional formulas. Facial and abdominal slaps, striking the face or stomach with open or back hands to cause sharp pain without lasting internal damage. Environmental deprivation, forcing nudity, using cold cells, or dousing with cold water. Attention, grasp and facial hold, grabbing collars or clamping the head to assert total physical control. Methods used included beating, binding in contorted stress positions, hooding, subjection to deafening noise, sleep disruption, sleep deprivation to the point of hallucination, deprivation of food, drink, and medical care for wounds, waterboarding, walling, sexual humiliation, rape, sexual assault, subjection to extreme heat or extreme cold, and confinement in coffin-like boxes. Wrongful and false imprisonment tactics by agencies like the FBI and CIA historically involve extrajudicial detention, coerced confessions, and legal system abuses. While the CIA operates primarily abroad through secret detentions, and the FBI operates domestically using counterintelligence or investigative frameworks, both have utilized controversial methods to detain, hold, or isolate targets. Extraordinary rendition, abducting foreign nationals and transferring them to secret overseas facilities, black sites, outside standard judicial oversight. Incommunicado detention, holding prisoners indefinitely without access to legal counsel, family notification, or the International Committee of the Red Cross. Enhanced interrogation techniques, EITs, applying methods such as waterboarding, stress positions, sleep deprivation, and sensory overload designed to induce psychological collapse and compliance. Erroneous renditions, seizing and detaining innocent individuals due to mistaken identity or faulty intelligence without immediate recourse or release. Legal system abuse, fabricating pretexts, utilizing perjured testimony, or presenting compromised evidence to effect politically or strategically motivated arrests. Incentivized and false informants, utilizing compromised or coerced jailhouse informants to generate fabricated confessions or testimony against targeted individuals. Proactive disruption, infiltrating dissident or political groups to manufacture criminal charges or isolate targets from community and legal support. Discrediting targets involves systematic methods designed to destroy credibility, reputation, or authority. Key strategies include character assassination, manufacturing false narratives, and institutional manipulation. Unsupported derogation, attacking a target's competence or authority without providing real proof. Accusation and insult, using loaded, negative, or taboo words to humiliate the target. Polarization, framing the target as an extreme outgroup enemy to alienate them from the mainstream. Denying the bad behavior, attacking the person speaking out, and reversing the roles of victim and offender. Diversion and doubt, creating fake controversies or amplifying uncertainty to make the target look unreliable. Dark PR, using hidden channels, fake web pages, or AstroTurf groups to plant defamatory stories. Infiltration and sowing discord, spreading anonymous rumors inside a group to turn allies against the target. A smear campaign is a deliberate, premeditated effort to damage an individual's reputation, credibility, and character using falsehoods, distortion, and psychological manipulation. Common tactics include spreading rumors, weaponizing private details, and enacting DARVO. Kernels of truth, mixing confidential information or real past mistakes with outright fabrications to make the false narrative sound believable. Preemptive framing, launching the character attack before the target has a chance to speak or exit a dynamic, positioning the aggressor as the victim. DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Denying wrongdoing, attacking the person pointing out the behavior, and claiming the aggressor is the actual victim. Whisper networks and innuendo, spreading subtle gossip, eye rolls, or loaded questions in casual settings to poison a social or professional circle without leaving a direct paper trail. Triangulation, turning mutual friends, family members, or colleagues against the target by telling different versions of a story to isolated parties. Recruiting flying monkeys, manipulating third parties into acting as proxies who unwittingly or willingly spread the false narrative on the aggressor's behalf. Isolation, systematically cutting the target off from supportive networks so they have no defense or validation system. Reactive abuse, intentionally pushing a target's boundaries until they experience an emotional outburst or snap, then showcasing that normal human reaction as proof that the target is unstable or crazy. Reputational sabotage, targeting professional or high visibility, standing by falsely accusing individuals of incompetence, dishonesty, or unfitness in workplaces or public forums. Bad jacketing is a counterintelligence and psychological tactic used to falsely portray a legitimate group member, organizer, or activist as an informant, law enforcement agent, Fed jacket, or criminal malfeasant. The primary goal is to trigger paranoia, destroy internal trust, and neutralize key figures through isolation or infighting. Spreading false rumors, infiltrators or external actors quietly circulate unsubstantiated gossip through the ranks, claiming a specific member is talking to authorities. Manufacturing physical evidence, planting forged documents, fabricated digital chat logs, or suspicious notes designed to look like communication with law enforcement or corporate security. Selective enforcement and quick releases. Law enforcement or opposing handlers will deliberately arrest a group during a raid or protest, but then release the targeted individual very quickly while keeping others detained, creating the illusion of a special deal or cooperation. Simulated association, forcing unnatural visible contact between the target and known police officers or investigators to make onlookers deeply suspicious. The ultra-militant trap. Planted provocateurs within a group adopt extreme, violent or hyper-radical posturing, pushing the organization toward dangerous illegal actions, while letting the targeted non-compliant member take the blame or look like a setup artist. Weaponizing paranoia, exploiting existing racial, gender or ideological fault lines within a group so that members are primed to believe that a dedicated peer is actually an enemy. Character assassination, discrediting an organizer's personal history, finances, or past associations by leaking distorted or entirely fake background info to allies and potential supporters. Intelligence agencies use forged documents and media placement to shape public perception, deceive adversaries, or destabilize hostile regimes. These methods, historically referred to as covert influence or active measures, rely on establishing plausibility and using trusted channels to amplify fabricated narratives. Creation, fabricating official-looking letterheads, signatures, and administrative markers of a target government or organization. Seeding, quietly introducing the falsified paper trail into diplomatic channels, opposing factions, or vulnerable foreign archival systems. Objective, forcing an adversary to waste time and resources authenticating data, causing internal mistrust, or falsely attributing aggressive intentions to a rival. Attribution, laundering, feeding a fabricated story or manipulated fact through secondary or foreign contacts so the original source remains untraceable. Amplification, utilizing cooperative local journalists, unaccredited writers, or front organizations to get a narrative published abroad, allowing it to be picked up credibly by mainstream domestic outlets. Objective, directing public and political pressure toward a desired strategic outcome, discrediting a foreign leader, or masking controversial domestic policies. Intelligence agencies like the CIA direct harassment tactics, historically referred to in declassified contexts as neutralization, disruption, or psychological warfare, towards specific targets to disorient, discredit, or incapacitate them. Information operations, fabricating or planting discrediting materials in local media or communities to isolate the target socially and professionally. Environmental stressors, applying non-attributional pressure tactics designed to induce paranoia, sleep disruption, or constant anxiety without leaving direct physical evidence. Substance and behavioral testing, historically exploring covert administration of psychoactive agents or chemicals to disorient a subject's cognitive faculties. Neutralization, rendering a perceived adversarial individual or group ineffective rather than engaging in formal legal or kinetic action. Denial of platform, destroying a target's credibility so they lose influence, support, or operational capability within their environment. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, utilizes various forms of systematic pressure, psychological stress, and surveillance that critics, watchdogs, and legal experts classify as harassment or coercive tactics. Historically, and in operational contexts, these methods are primarily deployed through interrogational manipulation, covert surveillance, and localized pressure, and historical research operations. A systematic progression of isolation, sensory disruption, and physical coercion. Detainees were moved via covert flights to undisclosed locations outside the United States, placing them outside standard domestic or military legal frameworks. Upon arrival, subjects were routinely stripped naked, shackled, hooded, and subjected to disorientation procedures, such as having their clothing forcibly cut off. Prisoners faced constant isolation in cold, dark cells with loud noise or continuous white noise piped in to prevent orientation or sleep. Subjects were kept awake for extended periods, sometimes up to 180 hours, 7.5 days, often while bound in standing or painful stress positions to induce extreme fatigue and psychological breakdown. Documented methods included walling, slamming a detainee against a specialized wall, cramped confinement in small box-like structures, and prolonged vertical shackling. Water was poured over a cloth covering the restrained subject's nose and mouth to trigger an immediate suffocation and drowning reflex. The implementation of these methods was largely coordinated with contracted psychologists intended to systematically overcome psychological resistance. Agency medical personnel were often present to track vital signs and physiological limits, ensuring subjects survived the application of coercive methods for continued interrogation. The term neutralized in intelligence operations refers to rendering a target harmless, which can mean capture, detention, discreditation, or lethal force. When lethal targeted operations occur, the process involves intelligence gathering, interagency legal review, presidential or high-level authorization, pattern of life analysis, and execution via kinetic strike. Protocols require assessing whether the target poses a significant ongoing threat and if capture is feasible. Continuous remote or human surveillance maps the target's daily routines, associates, and regular locations. Neutralized through tactics, including assassination, imprisonment, public humiliation, and false criminal charges. Witness harassment and intimidation involve any intentional action, veiled hint, or emotional manipulation meant to stop a witness from reporting a crime, cooperating with investigators, or testifying in court. These unlawful campaigns commonly progress step by step from subtle social pressure to overt threats or violence, mapping routines, tracking a witness's daily schedule, workplace, home address, and routes to school or local stores. Digital stalking, monitoring public social media profiles or sending digital friend requests to map personal networks and family members. Implicit presence, showing up silently at public spaces or driving slowly past a target's residence to signal they are being watched. Third-party messaging, sending messages through mutual friends, family members, or acquaintances who casually ask the witness to drop it or stay away from court. Emotional manipulation, using appeals to past relationships, shared children, or professions of love and promises to change, specifically designed to induce guilt. Symbolic gestures, leaving cryptic items, making silent phone calls, or making non-verbal gestures in public corridors, such as prolonged staring or throat-slash motions. Nuisance and digital bombardment, flooding the target with constant text messages, anonymous emails, or social media shaming. Property damage, vandalizing vehicles, damaging home property, or breaking fences, windows to demonstrate capability and intent without direct physical confrontation. Explicit verbal threats, directly warning the witness about physical harm, job loss, financial ruin, or immigration reporting if they cooperate with authorities. Physical assault or force, committing acts of physical violence against the witness, their children, or their pets to enforce total silence. Courtroom intimidation, packing courtroom benches or hallways with associates as a physical show of force, or making intimidating facial expressions during testimony. The withholding of exculpatory evidence, which violates the constitutional duty established in Brady v. Maryland, often occurs through strategic categorization, selective documentation, and delayed production rather than outright theft of files. Narrow definition of exculpatory, restricting disclosure to material that explicitly proves total innocence while ignoring evidence that merely reduces culpability or weakens a witness's credibility. Delegating to non-lawyers, assigning uncredentialed staff or law enforcement agents to screen files for favorable data without direct attorney oversight. Compartmentalized knowledge, relying on a structural wall between police files and prosecutorial files, allowing the prosecution to claim ignorance of items held by investigators. unrecorded debriefings, conducting informal witness or informant interviews that do not go well, and intentionally leaving them unmemorialized in written reports. Lost or misfiled notes, purposely failing to preserve or conveniently misplacing initial handwritten detective notes that contain early, inconsistent statements. Scrubbing reports, omission of favorable background details, alternative suspect leads, or contradictory descriptions from official police summaries. Brady wrapped in Jenks. Delay, conflating constitutional exculpatory rules with late-stage witness statement rules, like the Jenks Act, delaying production until right before or during trial to overwhelm defense resources. Data dumps, disclosing thousands of pages of irrelevant files alongside a single crucial exculpatory item at the 11th hour to hide its significance. Denial of deals, falsely claiming or concealing informal agreements, immunity promises, or financial incentives given to jailhouse informants or co-defendants. Disrupt, misdirect, and discredit are core counterintelligence and psychological warfare strategies historically codified by programs like the FBI's COINTELPRO to neutralize targeted political and social movements. These methods operate in a sequential, step-by-step framework designed to fracture organizations from within and isolate them from the public. The first goal is to halt the target's day-to-day operations and fracture their internal organization. Infiltration and informants, planting operatives inside the group to map networks, steal data, and logistically paralyze projects. Bad jacketing, Fed jacketing, fabricating false evidence to make loyal members look like secret informants or traitors, breeding deep paranoia and internal witch hunts. Exhaustion of resources, triggering endless administrative burdens, legal battles, or pretextual arrests to drain the target's financial reserves and time. Creating splinter factions, setting up fake front groups, or encouraging extreme fringe elements within a movement to make the broader cause look unhinged. Noise and saturation, flooding the environment with alternative narratives, false leads, or manufactured controversies so observers cannot find the truth. Triggering reactants, pitting rival groups against each other through anonymous leaks or forged messages to redirect their hostility inward. Smear campaigns, leaking selective, out-of-context, or entirely fabricated personal data, such as private correspondence or medical history, to humiliate leadership. AstroTurf and counter-messaging, planting anonymous letters, forged press releases, or ghost-written articles in mainstream media outlets to paint the target as dangerous or incompetent. Character assassination, attacking an individual's moral standing, professional credentials, or sanity so that any claims they make are automatically dismissed by the public.